Well, all right. We're going to stop this and see if we can't get the camera in zoomed a little bit better. Hey, there we go. Not bad. Hello. Hope you guys can hear me okay, and that there's not too many crazy sounds like fans going on in the background or extra lights blaring around in my face, although maybe that one was pretty helpful. So, hi, my name's John. I am a 50-year-old father of 5 for the purposes of alliteration. And I'm going to be reading here from the Life Story Interview Kit. You can see that called Tales, which is from, it's available at tales.com. And it's 150 questions. We're not doing 150 today, but 150 questions designed to help me capture your loved one's life story through meaningful conversations. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I've never had a meaningful conversation, nor do I know how to. But we're going to give it a shot anyway. The purpose for this, I was diagnosed in 2019 with stage 3 colon cancer. That was addressed through a series of surgeries and several cycles of chemotherapy. I was declared cancer-free at the end of 2020, but then at the end of toward the end of 2021, I guess it was, the cancer had resurfaced in my what do you call them? Lymph nodes. Thank you. Resurfaced in my lymph nodes. Thank you to whoever said that. I don't know who you would be because I'm pretty sure I'm on my own here. But the tumors were found in a spot too close to major arteries for them to perform surgery. So they're leaving those guys in place and hitting with chemotherapy to try to stop the spread of it. Now the cancer has already spread to my lungs, and I have a terminal prognosis, so I'm not expected to survive this. The doctors give me about a year. Well, this was a few months ago, but they said about a year if it goes untreated, and maybe 2 years if it goes treated. And I've come to I've sort of come to emotional grips with that, but I do have family. I have a loving wife. I have a loving ex-wife as well. I think my loving wife loves me more than my loving ex-wife. I'm not going to compare. I have 5 children. My oldest 3 children live in Singapore with their mother, my ex-wife. The oldest, Clayton, will be turning 21 here next week on Valentine's Day. This is 2024, according to my computer. And my youngest son is 2 years old. His name is James. And I have various children in between there, Wesley, Gabriel, and Charlotte. And Charlotte is 6. James is 2. They depending on how long I survive this disease, will determine what their memory of me will be. I know that my older boys will remember me But they were also taken away from me at a very young age. Um, their mother took them to Singapore. I guess Clayton had just turned 8, maybe. It was, uh, I believe, 2011, and it was, so it was uh, Wesley, I think was maybe 5, and Gabriel 3, somewhere in there. So they didn't have a lot of opportunity to get to know me. Now in the years since, we've been able to visit a few times, and we've had some great times together and some great memories. But there's a lot about me that they don't know, as we haven't spent a ton of time together. We haven't had opportunities to have a lot of conversations, that families normally get to have. So, with that said, I am going to be reading through these life story cards, and we'll see how long it takes to get through a card. I've never done this before. I'm going to try to keep these episodes relatively short, but I think if you know me, you know that that's unlikely to happen. Let's see about the cards. I looked at those before. Tips for recording about the cards and so forth. And we're going to start with our first card will be early life. Early life. I don't know if you can see that. And then the question here is, how did you get your name? So my name is John Andrew Worrall. Last name Worrall comes from my father, Jay Worrall, and Worrall as a family name came from the town of Arles in France. When William of Orange, William the Conqueror, came over and decided to have England, he brought with him the French. I'm possibly oversimplifying history, probably incorrectly, but one of his folks that he brought with him there in the fight was a fellow named Hugh from the town of Arles. And so his name was Hugh Duarl, and Duarl eventually, when they settled in England, you don't want to be named Duarl forever because that sounds French, and then they're English, so you can't be French forever, as we all know. And so Worrall is the Anglicization of Duarl. The Worrall family then stayed in England for quite some time, about 600, 700 years from the invasion. The Battle of Hastings was 1066. The Worrall family, who in the 1600s became Quaker, or at least some of them did. My ancestors did, and those Quakers, John and Peter Worrall, came over to the United States. Well, it wasn't the United States yet. It was the colony of Pennsylvania, founded by William Penn. And John and Peter Worrall came over, and I think it was 1680, and they settled in what's now Media, Pennsylvania, or close by. And so the Worralls in America, a lot of them came from the Pennsylvania area where they were Quakers. And so my particular branch of the Worrall family stayed there in media from 1680 clear through until World War II, when my grandfather Jay Worrall uh, joined the army to go stop Hitler from being a jerk. Uh, and when he was done with that, he ended up buying a farmhouse in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is where I was eventually born. Uh, Not to my grandfather. Grandfathers can't have children, but his son Jay married Gail Wessel. We'll get into the Wessel name at some point, but that's not it's not this question. Is how did I get my name, which is not Wessel. Uh, so that's the Worrall part. First name John. My mother was a fan of my father. Got to name the first child, uh, my brother Jay, who I love and miss very much. Uh, and My brother Jay was named after my grandfather, who was also named Jay. Coincidentally, my father's name was also Jay, but my father insists that my brother Jay was not named after my father. That would be egotistical to give him his own name. He named him after his father, who just coincidentally happened to have the same name. This is my wife, Liz.
Doesn't want to be on the video.
No, love you, Liz. I didn't mean to put you there. Yes, off goes Liz. So my name John came from my mother named me John. So my father, as we said, got to name my older brother Jay, and then left the naming, I believe, of the rest of the children to my mother. Uh, my mother was a big fan of John F. Kennedy, as well as John Lennon. Um, uh, and so I'm ostensibly named after the two of them. Uh, Although, if I okay, well, no. Bye, Liz. We couldn't see any, none of that. Uh, uh, John F. Kennedy and John Lennon were my two of my mother's heroes. At the time Lennon was still alive, I was born in 1973. John Lennon was shot and killed in 1980. John Kennedy was shot and killed in 1963. So my mother was not naming me after people in the hopes that I'd be shot and killed. She was naming me because she admired both of those men. Now, what I find amusing about that is that uh, uh, John Lennon was known to beat women. Uh, he admitted so not only in song but in interview. Uh, and John F. Kennedy, of course, famously cheated on his beautiful wife with the lovely Marilyn Monroe, and then when he was finished with her, passed her off to his brother Bobby, uh, as though she were a commodity, which uh, uh, in their eyes, perhaps she was. Uh, at any rate, there were wonderful things and terrible things about both John Lennon and John Kennedy. Um, and I think that that's fair. I think that there are good sides and bad sides to all of us. Very few of us, I think, get to see that. I don't know if dichotomy is the right word. uh, but the duality of the nature of people on such a sort of a grandiose and magnified scale. John F. Kennedy, hero of an entire population of a generation of young voters. Uh, and also, war hero, very big, grandiose things. And then his downsides were also magnified. Having your mistress breathedly sing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" in front of your wife, who was not looking very happy about it at the time. Uh, potentially being involved with the mafia, whatever else JFK was into. It was all on a big magnified scale. Also, you don't get too larger of a magnified scale than John Lennon. Uh, uh, well, I don't. There's no sense in explaining quite how famous he was. I can't imagine having to live my life under as big a microscope as those guys. But I would hope that I would do a better job in terms of not beating up women and cheating on wives and uh, starting wars in Vietnam and all of these sorts of things. But I do think that I could maybe I make some cool music. Okay, what do we got here? 17 minutes. That's not too bad. My middle name is Andrew. That's a person in my mother's family, the uncle somewhere. I have no strong recollection of where Andrew came from, but I like it as a name. I think Andrew's a good name. When I was a kid, one of my friends, a shout out to Andrew Burke. When we were little, we used to play over at his house a lot. And he turned out to be a swell guy. So I think Andrew turned out okay. All right. Are there any questions? I don't even know if this is when it says that this is a live stream. I wonder if it means that. Let's see. Okay. Well, welcome and so forth and so on. And here's a doodle-goody. Excellent. Well, I don't know. But anyway, we are, off we go. So we've done one. We'll do another one and then see what our time looks like. Question number 2. Early life, once again. Where were you born? Is that where you were raised? I was born directly between my mother's thighs. I was not raised there, thank God. Moved after that very quickly to some sort of swaddling blanket, I'm sure. And then since then, I've moved a ton. I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia, at Martha Jefferson Hospital on September 8, 1973. If you're really into stealing identities, welcome to have mine. It's been rough sledding for me. I'm not very happy with. But if you take my identity, you also get to take my cancer. But you don't get to have my children or my wife. So let me know if you want to steal my identity. We'll discuss it. Could be for sale. I don't know. Where was I born? Martha Jefferson Hospital in Charlottesville, Virginia, in the fall of 73. To Gail Worrall and my father Jay. I was premature. I was 6 weeks premature. I was not supposed to have been ready yet. My lungs were not fully developed when I was born. They put me in the incubator, and they had to inflate one of my lungs with a straw. This isn't a joint. This is a straw blowing out like a breathalyzer. I don't know why everything, but there goes my lung, fully functional once again. And then they had me in the incubator. And at the time, in 1973, I was on record as the largest baby to be in the incubator system at Martha Jefferson. I wonder if I'm as out of focus as I look, or if that's a factor of my not having my glasses on. No, I don't think it is. I think I'm just clear out of focus on this thing. Well, that's all right if I do that. I don't care. I was not raised in Charlottesville. I was raised in Falls Church, Virginia. So lived in Charlottesville. In my first home was the former slave quarters of a plantation house in Keswick, Virginia. Keswick's just I think just east of Charlottesville. The slave quarters had no central heating or air conditioning, or I believe it did have electricity, but my father my father liked to say he would go to sleep with a glass of water next to his bed, and he'd wake up next to a block of ice. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't think that he was making a reference to my mother when he mentioned waking up next to a block of ice, but these things happen. So, and as a sick kid, with bad lungs, I was asthmatic. So that environment, probably not the healthiest, but we made do. And we moved up to Northern Virginia. I think probably somewhere in 1974. We moved up to the Arrowhead Apartments behind George Marshall High School on Route 7 in Falls Church, Virginia. So technically Fairfax, and then we moved into Falls Church City proper when I was 4 years old. So I would have been 1977. And then I started kindergarten there at Mount Daniel in Falls Church, and that's where I was raised. So I consider my hometown to be Falls Church. I grew up in Falls Church, but I was born in Charlottesville. My grandfather and grandmother continued to live in Charlottesville for the rest of their lives. They passed, I believe let's see if I can get this right. My grandfather, must have passed in 2010, and my grandmother, I think, in 2011. My mother passed in 2009. That wasn't the question on the card. But at any rate, even though I grew up in Falls Church, I kept very close ties to Charlottesville. And I eventually moved back there several times as an adult, working I worked at the Kesmai studio in Charlottesville. So anyone who's a fan of online gaming history Kesmai was one of the first, if not the first, multiplayer video game studio that focused on building and operating live service games that are accessible by thousands of people at a time. Games like Air Warrior and Island of Kesmai, which later became Legends of Kesmai. Multiplayer BattleTech, similar games like that were Kesmai products we ran on a service called GameStorm. I worked at Bodo's Bagels for a little while, which Charlottesville fans will be familiar with. And I worked at another Charlottesville institution, Crutchfield, for a little while. In fact, I got my equipment for recording these things at Crutchfield. Big shout out to JR, Adam Stoffel. You can find him at anywhere you look for blogs. Look for 3 Things with JR. Fantastic blog, great guy, good friend of mine. So hopefully everybody's been able to hear this. If not, I'll do it again, and I'll probably do it a little bit more concisely. But we are at our 26-minute mark. So I think that's enough for now. We got through 2 questions, and I think you got an idea for my style of how I talk and so forth. Feel free to leave any questions or comments in the chat area there or what have you. I have no idea how any of that works, but I will do my best to reach out to folks. Also, if you want to support me, cancer is expensive. We have a page up at patreon.com/knowingjohn. If you go to patreon.com/knowingjohn, then you can make a one-time or a recurring contribution, which would help us with medical costs and the other costs associated with raising 2 children and not being able to work. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And any feedback, let me know. Love you very much. And take care.